Oh, we're jamming into music. All
Good
right, everyone.
morning.
Welcome to Radicals. This is Cults and Conspiracies, part two of the Branch Davidians. I am joined once again this week by the lovely and talented Jade, who is off screen today because she says she looks like hot garbage.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good.
You had a good week?
Excited. I did. We had a great Halloween. Um, we had a little party at our house. My niece and my daughter aren't vaccinated yet, so we still stayed home. But we had a fun trick or treating party at home.
Well, that's good. Jade never looks like hot garbage.
Oh, thank you. How was your
uh,
Halloween?
it was good. Passed out lots of candy to lots of kids. The first hour, it was weird because they set it up for Saturday instead of Sunday. So first off, that just pissed Raven off and me off because it's not Halloween. But
Right.
the whole well, it's a school night. It's so what? We used to have Halloween in the middle of the week.
Yep.
you know. So, but yeah, the first hour was kind of slow, but then we picked up got a lot of kids over the next hour. So,
That's
um,
awesome. Even in your older home community.
yeah, there's a lot of kids that come in from like the surrounding areas and stuff. So, because we got a lot of
Okay.
farmland out where we're at, so yeah, a lot of.
That makes sense.
So it was a good time. Um,
That's
got
awesome.
got to see some relatives and some people we haven't seen in a while, so it was good.
That's awesome.
$5 Australian for digital demonic Davros. I like steaming garbage. Please tell me we have good silly words for my Uncle Dave. Speaking of Dave, yes, this week we are going. This is part two of the Branch Davidians. Last week we covered what we covered. Oh, the history of the
Yep.
Branch Davidians. We covered who David Koresh was and why Branch Davidians is considered a cult. This week we're covering. It's going to be a little off topic a little bit for a little bit because we're actually going to be covering what happened at Waco because you have to understand what happened at Waco to understand where a lot of these conspiracy theories that we will be covering come from. I do have a rundown play by play of what happened on that fateful day, April 19th, 1993. Um, so we can actually see this is the official FBI transcripts. Um, a lot of the stuff I pulled off from the ATF website, justice.gov, and some actual newspapers from the Texas during this time. Then, of course, we got the lovely conspiracy theories. So this should be good. And also the connection between Ruby Ridge, Waco, Texas, and Oklahoma City bombing. So
Okay.
yeah, I had thought at one point of doing Ruby Ridge, but there's really not. There's really Ruby Ridge was a horrible um, situation that happened, but conspiracy theories and whatnot around Ruby Ridge just I don't know. It's just not something I think we're going to cover. So that being said, you weren't born yet, were you? 93.
I was 1 year old. I
You
was
were a
born in
year old. Okay,
92.
so
Yep.
you won't remember anything about what happened. Some of us
No.
actually lived through this. Oddly enough, this actually what happened on April 19th is actually Raven's birthday. Um, so
Oh,
so she's really she knows because it happened on her birthday, and then of course Oklahoma City happened on her birthday. So because it was
oh
two
my
years later.
goodness.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I think we're gonna get into this. If you haven't, before I go any further, if you haven't checked out my discussion from Sunday with Isaiah from the RHC podcast, go take a look at that. That was on why atheism is not a cult. Um, he says it is. 100% is not. It was a good discussion. It went a little off topic sometimes, but I thought at one point I had him, and then he just doubled down.
Yeah,
So it was a little, but it was overall it was a good conversation.
that's good.
I had a conspiracy for next week, but now I don't remember what it was. So if anybody remembers what I said we were gonna do, let me know because I flat out forgot. Because I do remember, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna do that one. But following the following week though, I'm gonna be getting with Claire. Me and Claire are gonna be covering Nexium. For Culture
Oh,
Conspiracy, that one will probably be a longer set of episodes. That'll probably be 3, maybe 4 um, um, episodes because there's so much behind Nexium and what happened. Um, it is a extremely messed up cult.
yeah,
For those of you that don't know anything about Nexium, before just put it in out there. It does revolve around a sex cult. So if you're not into that sort of thing, just be forewarned ahead of time. Um, it, it's a cult that's not a very good. Not well. I can't say every cult's not good, but a lot of cults aren't good. So,
right.
and then Chris, I'm not sure what we're doing. Oh, six pack. Unless it's changed, we're supposed to be covering our newfound friend with Ed on six pack. So
Your newfound friend.
yeah, from from Saturday, uh, the Revelation
Oh,
13 net. Yeah. Uh, $5 from Digital Demonic Davros. How does Jay fit into the bite model? I don't know, but Raven has inside knowledge. Hashtag research shallow Davros. Yeah. Yep. That's right. Chris does say yes. Oh shit. Yes, we are. Ed gets to see the clouds move. So that'll be fun. Um, I don't think there's anything else I need to bring up. Do you guys have a show this week?
I don't know. My daughter. I need to talk to Chris. Actually, my daughter has a play tomorrow night, so at 6:00.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about how Jen is doing either.
Yeah. That poor girl's going through some stuff. So
Oh,
lots of
I
love
know.
out to Jen.
Yes.
Polymathic. Love her to death. So
Yep.
Jay does bite. There is a possibility that I will be joining you and Jen on the couch to talk about the after effects of religious cults and PTSD and mental health. So look forward to that.
Yes. Yes, that'll be a great episode.
Yeah.
I actually am diagnosed with PTSD from growing up, so I'll be excited to talk about that. And yeah.
Cool. So now we got all the housekeeping stuff out of the way. Are you ready to learn what happened in Waco?
I am.
Now, before I get this started, I have to throw out a caveat here. No, Davros, you didn't. You never ruined the show. A lot of us that grew up around Waco, Ruby Ridge, Oklahoma City, during that time frame, remember a lot of things differently. I remember what happened at Waco differently than what Raven does. Just for an example, a lot of things have changed over the years. That is part of the conspiracy theory, is that they're always changing what happened. What really happened or what supposedly happened here at Waco. So the information I'm providing you today is the information that I have now. So some of you may go, well, wait a minute, I don't remember that happening. When I was reading some of this, there were some things I don't remember happening. Raven was the same way. But these are what I can find. This is like I said, I pulled these from the ATF website, justice.gov. So these are the official reports. If we're going through talking about this and you guys remember something differently than what I read off, please let us know, because that is something we need to discuss with this, because there are, one of the conspiracy theories is that the official story constantly changes. So, um, yeah, Casey, Randy, exactly. Like Janet Reno will have thoughts. Yeah, because Janet Reno was involved. So, and Sandy says it's too long ago. There's a lot of things, like I said, when I was researching this, that I remember differently, but I hadn't looked into Waco and the Branch Davidians. I mean, I did kind of dip into it when I did a video not too long ago on the Oklahoma City bombing, but I didn't deep dive into it like I've done the last 2 weeks. Um, so it's going to be it was a little different for me, because I actually watched the documentary that I can't find any official um, notes or transcripts or anything about um, what the gentleman said happened. Raven was looking yesterday too, and she did find something that was a little bit different. Um, but we'll get into that here in just a minute, because that is actually part of the first part um, of what happened on that day. So, before any questions before we begin, Jade?
I don't think so. I'm ready to hear what happened.
Alrighty. So in May 1992, ATF began an extensive investigation into David Koresh and the Branch Davidians, a cult group residing on a large and rural property near Waco, Texas. ATF's investigation centered on Koresh and the Davidians being involved in illegal manufacture and possession of machine guns and illegal manufacture and possession of destructive devices, including bombs and grenades. Now, what brought because actually Raven reminded me of this. I didn't see this in any of the official documents, because everything I was looking at was what happened between the 28th and the February 28th and April 19th. I had forgot about what actually turned the Branch Davidians onto the government in the first place. That was, to delicately put this, child marriage and what goes
Oh,
along with that. That's what originally put them, because they act, and then they had talked to someone from outside the cult that used to be a cult member. So what had actually happened was, when they got information about the firearms and whatnot, is because they actually had an ATF agent deep undercover in the Branch Davidians that had been there for 2 years. So that's why they got this. So the ATF investigation showed that the group had acquired 136 firearms, including assault rifles and handguns, 700 plus magazines for those firearms, 200,000 rounds of ammunition, 110 upper and lower receivers for AR-15s, grenade launcher attachments for AR-15s, 400 plus empty M31 rifle grenades, along with black powder and other explosive chemicals. The investigation included interviews with former. Okay, the investigation included interviews with former cult members, inspection and interviews with federal firearms dealer, review of the documentation showing the purchase of large quantities of AR-15 rifles, ammunition and inert grenades, which could be converted to live grenades, and records from interstate shippers. An ATF undercover agent became an associate member of the Davidians, although with limited access to their compound. Sufficient evidence was gathered to allow for the issuance of a federal arrest and search warrants in February 93 to arrest Koresh and search the compound. So that's where we start getting into what actually happened at Waco. Okay, good question, Randy. That was a long, drawn out deal. How long were they barricaded in their compound? 51 days, February
oh my God.
28th to March to April 19th. So it was 51 days. Sandy, um, I'm not gonna. We will not be getting into what we were talking about. Why they were initially brought to their radar. This is just what happens here. And I can also understand if this is where you get angry, because what happened is 100% a tragedy. It was handled so wrong. Even the ATF agents that were there said they handled it wrong. So So the ATF special agents from Dallas, Houston, and New Orleans field divisions were assigned to execute federal warrants at the Branch Davidians compound on February 28th, 1993. The Davidians were alerted to the immediate impending raid by a local postman who was also a cult member. So what happened there was he was out delivering the mail, and a news van stopped him and asked him them directions to the Branch Davidian compound because they were there to cover the federal search warrant that was supposed to be issued for the compound for David Koresh. So then he contacted them and let them know what was going down.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So the heavily armored cult members were waiting in ambush as the agents unloaded from their vehicles. Koresh was outside on the porch as the agents approached, telling him they had a search warrant and instructed him to get down. He retreated into the house. Now, this is where it starts to get murky. Mind you, I'm giving you the official story, but I will interject with things that I remember differently. I was talking with Raven last night that she remembers differently. And this is where I want you guys, if you do remember what happened, to interject if you remember it happening differently, because this is where the official story and what happened gets a little murky. So the agents approached Koresh, telling him that they had a search warrant, instructing him to get down, and he retreated inside the house. Gunfire burst through the door as the agents approached. One agent was wounded. The difference here, and I remembered it differently, and I didn't remember that I remembered it differently until Raven mentioned something yesterday. The official report is that the Davidians fired through the door to the ATF agents. Mm-hmm. Raven remembered it that the ATF agents fired first, and that's where a big discrepancy is in people that remember from the day compared to the official story. As it was the ATF fired first, or was it the Davidians fired first? So I can only give you the official story. And the official story says that the Davidians fired through the door to the ATF agents. The official story says only one agent was wounded. I remember one agent being killed and another being wounded in the initial volley of the blast to the doors. I said, as a result, a 2.5 hour long gunfight. 4 ATF agents were killed, 20 ATF agents wounded from gunshots or shrapnel, and 8 agents suffered other injuries. We don't have any accounts that I could find at all for casualties in the open and volley from the Davidian side, because that information they never got. It wasn't like, hey, we've got blah, blah, blah. So the 51-day standoff following the February 28th shootout with federal agents, Koresh and his followers locked themselves inside the compound. The FBI and ATF then deemed the site a hostage situation, and Koresh's paranoia about the government and the agent of Satan increased dramatically. In the documentary I listened to, during that first 2 hours, just after the first 2 hour thing, the gentleman said that Koresh said they would come out if they would provide them the location for the 7 seals as known in the book of Revelations. I couldn't find that officially anywhere. Raven looked, and she deep dived a little bit last night, and she found that in March, Koresh was talking to one of the negotiators, and he asked them about the 3rd seal. And when the gentleman couldn't answer or answer wrong, Koresh said, no, that's wrong, and slammed the door and halted negotiations. That is the only thing either one of us could find about the seals from the book of Revelations. Yeah, Raven said she did, but it was just the 3rd seal. Yes, Randy, this is that first 2 hours is when the FBI guy got shot on the roof. Um, no, it was ATF agent that was hit. Remember in the official in the first official contact, FBI was only there in a support capacity. ATF itself was leading the search warrants because it was about firearms. The FBI later got involved more heavily later. Where did I? Okay. Koresh quickly contacted media and participated in several live interviews with CNN about how the ATF had endangered his flock of sheep. He emphasized the number of children who lived in the compound and said that he had been shot and was bleeding severely. He was planning to die for his cause. That is the only time I have ever heard that he was shot at all. I had never heard anywhere before that he had ever been wounded in anything. Until the final what happened on April 19th. So that was different for me. So by this time, the ATF had been reinforced by local Texas Rangers, police officers, members of the FBI's hostage rescue team, and the FBI's special agent in charge from the San Antonio office, a bomb squad, and numerous U.S. Marshals. The media began to arrive in swarms. President Bill Clinton endorsed a negotiated settlement, and 10 children were released, including a baby. The FBI moved armored vehicles to the compound perimeter. To the compound's perimeter. The day after the first gun battle, Koresh made a tape of his teachings and promised to surrender if the recordings were broadcast on national television. Agents agreed to his demands, and the tape was broadcast on a Christian broadcasting network. However, Koresh went against his word, stating that God told him to wait. Negotiation continued for over the next several days. Koresh's earlier deceptive agreement with the agents gave him little leverage for any more demands, and he simply tired agents with his continual nonsense. Raven brought something up when she was looking that I didn't know. They were actually in a negotiation with Koresh at one point, and as they were talking, they shut the power off. And Koresh is like, hey, you want us to continue this? Turn the power back on.
Yeah.
So they ended up they did turn the power back on. So, okay. Koresh continued to make rambling religious statements intersected with threats of violence. The FBI became concerned that the Davidians would commit mass suicide. Negotiations dragged on. Koresh's apocalypse on April 17th, fed up with unreliable negotiations, newly sworn attorney. That made no sense. Okay. So, fed up with unreliable negotiations, newly sworn Attorney General Janet Reno approved of the use of chlorobenzidine. Yeah. Basically, CS gas, because I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, to end the 6-week standoff. The CS gas is miserable, uncomfortable on contact, but it would not harm anyone unless ventilation was shut off, in which case death could result. At dawn on the Monday morning, April 19th, 1993, the FBI phoned the compound to warn those inside about what was to occur. 3 minutes after the initial call, 2 combat engineering vehicles approached the buildings, easily punched holes in the walls, and began to spray tear gas pressurized by non-combustible carbon dioxide through nozzles into the compound. The Davidians began to fire at the tanks and other approaching agents, but no damage was done. 9 Bradley vehicles, an Abrams tank, and squad of choppers were positioned nearby for additional backup. Everyone involved in the process was under orders that if children were in any way in danger, the procedure was to be aborted.
They gassed them.
Yeah. Now, we're actually going to get into that part of the conspiracy theory, but it is this is actually an appropriate time to bring this up. a lot of people believed that the fire at the compound started because they fired incendiary gas grenades into the compound, not regular CS gas. For 6 years, they stated no, there were no incendiary gas containers until finally they actually came out and said, yes, there were actually 3 that were fired, but they were fired at the bunker, not the compound. And the bunker was not close to where the compound was. And that is the actual official story now. So what we're about to go through now is what actually happened on that fateful day. There may be some. I think I left out the graphic parts of it, and just went through with just the normal, without getting too graphic, because I say that this is when, the proverbial shit hit the fan. So, anything you wanna, anything you got before?
I'm just so shocked that they could gas them. Like, that's insane to me. Let's just put a bunch of gas into this compound. It'll be fine.
Well, basically what it is it's tear gas to help to try to force them out and to force them into submission, basically. Because tear gas is considered non-lethal.
Yeah.
Now, see, Davros, I've never heard that. Davros said the mattresses caught fire when they tried to stay warm. That's why the top floor burnt, and it became a siege. I don't remember hearing about mattresses catching on fire. So, like I said, people are going to remember this differently. Like I said, I don't remember mattresses being caught on fire. I don't remember what started the fire. I didn't remember it. Even after reading it and what actually happened, I couldn't remember what started the fire. Excuse me. But we're talking, this is almost 30 years ago. So in my memory, going back that far, it's not all that great. Unless it's just weird off the wall stuff. So yeah, that is interesting because, like I said, people are going to remember this differently. Okay. Actually, scapegoat. There were actual people that did survive. Not everybody passed away. There were survivors. So, all right. So, 5:50 a.m. Agents call the Branch Davidian compound to warn that they are going to begin tank activity and advise residents to take cover. Agents say the Branch Davidian who answered the phone did not reply, but instead threw the phone and the phone line out the front door. 5:55 a.m. The FBI hostage rescue team deploys 2 armored CEVs to the building. The CEV-1 goes to the left of the building, CEV-2 to the right. Davros does. There are Davidian testimonies. I had a hard time looking up to verify some information. Because everything I found that had any testimony for the Davidians was behind paywalls. And it was a lot of newspaper stories. So unless I wanted to actually buy a book, or pay to get into an actual newspaper website, it was kind of hard to actually find. But there are thousands and thousands of websites, so yeah, I military too. CS gas is horrible, and you'll never forget that smell.
I'm sure not.
So Pete had said that as someone has been exposed to CS gas many times with the Army, it's non-lethal and had a lot of training leading up to the 2000 Olympics. That stuff is horrible. It's snot and bubbles and tears. Yeah, Trudy, we did that was covered last week in the history of the Branch Davidians. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so we are at 6 o'clock. The FBI surveillance tapes from devices planted in the walls of the building recorded a man inside the compound saying, "Everybody wake up, let's start to pray." Then, then, Pablo, have you poured it yet? Huh? Have you poured it yet? In the hallway. Things are poured, right? CEV1 receives orders to spray 2 bottles of tear gas into the left corner of the building. That happened at 6 o'clock. At 6:05, armored vehicle with a ram and delivery device to pump tear gas into the building with pressurized air rips into the front wall just left of the front door, leaving a hole 8 feet high and 10 feet wide. Agents, for those of you that don't talk in freedom units, that's 2.4 meters by 3 meters wide, 2.4 meters high, 3 meters wide. Agents claim the holes allowed insertion of the gas as well as provided a means of escape. Agents see shots from inside the compound directed at the CEVs. I would guess they're talking muzzle flashes as they're firing at the CEVs. At 6:10, the FBI surveillance tapes recorded, "Don't pour it all out. We may need some later," and throw the tear gas back out. FBI negotiator Byron Sage is recorded saying, "It's time for people to come out." Surveillance tapes record a man saying, "What?" and then, "No way." 6:12, FBI surveillance tapes record Branch Davidian saying, "They're going to kill us," then, "They don't want to kill us." So you have one saying that they're going to kill us all, basically, and the other one, no, they don't want to kill us. And that was at 6:12. At 6:31, the entire building is gassed. And okay, so 6:47, the FBI hostage rescue team fires plastic, non-incendiary tear gas rounds through windows. We're talking more tear gas. I thought there was 18 Davros, but Davros said there was 11. I don't know if I wrote down how many survivors. I thought I did, but now looking, I don't see. But I thought there was 18. So where was I? What time was that? That was 8:47.
Yep.
Yep. So at 7:23, now we're talking a half hour later, the FBI surveillance tape recorded a male Branch Davidian saying, "The fuel has to go all around to get started." The second male says, "Well, there are 2 cans here if that's poured soon." At 7:30, CEV is redeployed, breaching the building, inserting tear gas. Branch Davidians fire shots at the CEV-1. At 7:48, on FBI tapes of agents recorded during the siege, an FBI hostage rescue team agent requests permission to fire military-style tear gas shells to break through the underground concrete bunker. He receives permission and fires 2 shells. And mind you, I remember, and what I found out, it was 3 shells that they actually found. Now, remember, when they first said it, they were like, no, we never fired those. Those were never fired. But then 6 years later said, yes, we did fire those. So remember the official, the not the official, but the original statement was they didn't fire any of those. So hang on just a second. Davros had sent me something here real quick. Yeah, see, for me, I don't know about you, Davros, but for me, I've got to sign up for their email to get into that. So it's another thing from the Waco Tribune. So I don't know what it's like over there, but for, like I said, over here, yeah. So I don't know what's there. So anyways, where are we at? Okay. Now, mind you, at 7:48, remember this time, 7:48, they fired 2 shells. At 7:58, the CEV-2 with the battering ram rips a hole into the second floor of the compound. Minutes later, another hole is punched into the rear of the buildings of the compound. The vehicles then withdraw. At 8:08, 3 pyrotechnic military tear gas rounds are shot at the concrete construction pit, not the bunker, away and downwind from the main quarters, trying to penetrate the structure, but they bounce off. An agent in the CEV reports that one shell bounced off the bunker and did not penetrate. And mind you, like I said, the official report said they never fired any. Now we're looking at 5. When the official report says there was only 3. So now, mind you, this is transcripts from justice.gov. So now we're looking at 5 different military grade projectile. Yeah. So you can see where we talked about at the beginning, a lot of people remember things, stories change over the years, things, yeah. So,
Yep.
Where are we at now? Okay, 8:24. The audio portion of the FBI videotape ends at the request of the pilot. That is for the CEVs. At 9:00. $5 from Australian dollars from Darth Dawkins. Would have been better if they followed me. I have experience living in a bunker, and no, that's not a basement. We call all the branch Davidians. Okay. At 9:00, we're at 9:00. The branch Davidians unfurl a banner that reads, "We want our phone fixed." At 9:13, CEV1 breaks through the front door to deliver more tear gas, which makes no sense because if you remember earlier, one of the Rams blew a big old hole next to the front door.
Yeah.
So why would
8-foot hole?
Why would you break down the door and fire more tear gas if there's this really big fucking hole right next to the front door? So at 9:20, the FBI surveillance records a meeting starting at 7:30 between several unidentified males. This said 9:20. What? Why? Maybe that's when they deciphered it and started writing it down. So, unidentified male. They got 2 cans of Coleman fuel down there, huh? Unidentified male 2, empty. And if he says empty. Unidentified male 1, all of it. Male 2, there's nothing left. So at 10:00, a man is seen waving a white flag in the southeast side of the compound. I remember that one. I remember that. He is advised over loudspeakers that if he is surrendering, he should come out. He does not. At the same time, a man believed to be Schneider comes out from the remains of the front door to retrieve the phone and phone line. At 11:30, the original CEV2 has mechanical difficulties, a damaged tread. Its replacement breaches through the backside of the compound. Now we're at CEV3. Between 11:17 and 12:04, according to the government, a series of remarks such as, "I want a fire, keep that fire going, and do you think I could light this soon?" indicate that the Branch Davidians have started setting fires to the complex around 7:30. Surviving Branch Davidians testified that Coleman fuel had been poured, and fire experts in Danforth's report agree without question that the people inside the complex has started multiple accelerated fires. At 11:43, another gas insertion takes place with the armored vehicle moving well into the building on the right side to reach the concrete interior room where the FBI hostage rescue team believed the Branch Davidians were trying to avoid the gas. Like I said, they're just pumping in the gas trying to get these people to come out.
Yeah, that's a lot of gas.
Yeah. The wall on the right side near the wall on the right rear side of the building collapses. That was at 11:45. At 12:03, an armored vehicle turret knocks away the first floor corner on the right side. Now they're just trying to what it seemed to me was, I'm reading through this, is they're just trying to collapse the building on top of these people.
Yeah.
So at 12:07, this is the first visible flames appear in two spots in the front of the building. First on the left of the front door on the second floor, which was a wisp of smoke, then a small flicker of flame. Then a short time later on the far right side of the front of the building, and a third spot on the back side. FBI hostage rescue team agent reported seeing a Branch Davidian member igniting a fire at the front door area. Ruth Riddle at 12:09 exits with a floppy disk in her jacket containing Koresh's manuscript on the Seven Seals. A third fire is detected on the first floor. Now, before we get into that, I read somewhere, no, or it was in that documentary. I don't remember which one. It said a lot of, I combed through a lot of information here.
Yeah.
Ruth Riddle said that don't believe Koresh if he gives up, because if he gives up, he's coming out armed with a bomb and will take out as many people as possible when he exits and is taken. That is not in the manuscripts. Now that I remember, I believe it was from that documentary that I listened to. Now remember that I guess I should have pointed this out. That documentary that I watched was from the ATF and FBI agents that were on the ground.
Okay.
It was from their point of view, so we don't know how much of it was actual. Like I said, there was stuff in there I didn't remember. I was talking to Raven about it. She's like, I don't remember none of that. Like I said, with the Seven Seal thing. So.
Mm-hmm.
At 12:10, flames spread quickly through the building, fanned by high winds. The building burns very quickly. See, Davros, you said David was bleeding to death during the siege. I don't remember him being shot. Like I said, Davros remembers it. He had mentioned it. We had mentioned it earlier in the thing. I don't remember him being hurt during the whole thing. Like I said, 30 years ago, memories change and things like that. I could just be forgetting. Okay. 12:12, an emergency call is placed regarding the fire. 2 Waco Fire Department trucks were dispatched. Shortly after, a Belmead Fire Department dispatches 2 trucks. If I remember right, the ATF agent that was in charge had told one of the after the first, I should have brought this up earlier, but I forgot. After the initial volley of fire back and forth, he had told one of the news crews to, hey, call 911, tell them to just send ambulances. They go down to where they can get, mind you, this is 93, so getting a signal or getting a working phone line was a pain in the ass. When they contacted 911, say, hey, we need they said, you have all the ambulances there already.
Oh my.
Yeah. So okay. So 12:22, Waco fire trucks arrive at the checkpoint where they are halted, not being allowed to pass until 12:37. Belmead follows shortly after. 12:25, there's a large explosion on the left side of the compound. One object hurls into the air, bounces off the top of the bus, and lands on the grass. Scapegoat says, I remember David showing the wound on camera. If I'm not mistaken, it was in the lower left abdomen, 5 or 6 inches from the belly button. Yeah, like I said, and I'm not doubting, because I'm just saying I don't remember that. But like I said, there was stuff I was reading that I don't remember happened that happened, and so like I said, some people remember things differently. That is one thing that you got to remember. Memory's a fickle bitch.
That is so true.
Okay. At 12:30, part of the roof collapses. Around this time, there are several further explosions, and witnesses report the sound of gunfire attributed by the FBI hostage rescue team to live ammunition cooking off throughout buildings because of the fire. According to the fire department logs, fire trucks arrive at the compound at 12:43. At 12:55, the fire begins to burn out. The entire compound is leveled. And then we don't hear anything else until 3:45 when law enforcement sources state that David Koresh is dead. So what happened between 12:55 and 3:45?
Yeah, that's quite a
That's a
time
big
frame.
chunk of time frame that was not in that report. So a subsequent investigation by the let me stop there for that. What we just went over was the official time, the official log of what happened on April 19th, play by play, minute by minute type of thing. You thought with all the investigations there'd have been a little bit better of a breakdown of what happened, but
and it goes against their official report, and yeah, that's
mm-hmm.
And then such a huge time frame to be missing.
Yeah, almost 3 hours. So yeah,
almost 3 hours. Yep.
So a subsequent investigation by the Department of Treasury and Justice regarding the actions of law enforcement agents during the site determined that some tactics and decisions were poorly executed.
Yes.
And certain actions by the ATF were criticized. However, the September 1993 U.S. Department of Treasury Administration Review concluded the agency is made up of dedicated and committed and experienced professionals. We have regularly demonstrated sound judgment and remarkable courage in enforcing the law. ATF has a history of success in conducting complex investigations and executing dangerous and challenging law enforcement missions. That fine tradition, together with line agents committed to the truth and the courage and determination, has enabled ATF to provide our country with a safer and more secure nation under law. Here, I'm going to blow a bunch of smoke up your ass so you'll forget what happened.
Yeah.
The one thing that I did take away from that documentary that I watched was they were actually talking to he said he was the FBI agent in charge. He said there were so many things that went wrong that day. So many things that were handled completely wrong. And yeah, I mean, I said they started tearing the building down, for God's sakes, with people in the building.
Yeah, I don't know the proper way to handle that situation, I guess, but hearing what they did doesn't seem like that's the best way to get people out and ensure their safety. Especially if you have children in the compound and stuff. I know they got a couple of them out, but there were still more there. And yeah, that's just insane. There has to be a better way.
I didn't. I should have, and I didn't. I was gonna. So if anybody is willing to put this up, is how many people actually perished that day. I don't. Looking back, I don't know why I didn't include the official numbers. And that is my bad. And when a situation like this, I really should have put that in, and I didn't, and I apologize. I said I don't know why I didn't include the actual for this, so you can actually see the devastation here. So that was officially what happened between February 28th and April 19th, 1993, the 51-day siege at Waco. So now we're going to move on to the connection between Ruby Ridge and the Oklahoma City bombing. Trudy Hall says survivors of the fires have stated openly that they were the cause of the Waco fire. 279 making Molotov cocktails to throw at the tanks. Davro says in the video game Postal 2, the fourth day you spend the fourth day you spend with your uncle at his compound. It ends with a Jonestown Waco type ending. That's fucked up.
That is.
Woolley said 76 died at the siege.
That is so sad.
So the connection between Ruby Ridge, Waco, and the Oklahoma City bombing. So Ruby Ridge, we're just going to go over this briefly here. Ruby Ridge standoff was in August of '92, which happened to be my birthday month, when U.S. Marshals attempted to apprehend a man named Randy Weaver and his family's remote hillside cabin in northern Idaho. Weaver, who had resisted efforts by the ATF to force him to inform on the white supremacist group, the Aryan Nations, hadn't showed up for his trial on weapons charges. The initial exchange of fire left Weaver's 14-year-old son and one U.S. Marshal dead. Federal authorities then laid siege to Weaver's cabin for 11 days, during which an FBI sniper wounded Weaver and family friend Kevin Harris and killed Weaver's wife, Vicky. Pushed to February is where we have Waco. And then 2 years later, Timothy McVeigh in Oklahoma City. So McVeigh viewed Ruby Ridge as a clear evidence that the U.S. government aimed to disarm the public and take away the people's Second Amendment rights. McVeigh was far from alone in his outrage. Ruby Ridge and the events at Waco fueled anger within the fledgling American militia movement and other far-right groups at what they saw as an oppressed government determined to attack and suppress anyone who, like Weaver or the Davidians, refused to conform to its will. On April 19th, 1995, exactly 2 years after the fiery conclusion of the botched Waco siege, McVeigh detonated explosives planted in a truck outside the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. He plotted the attack with two fellow Army veterans who shared his anti-government views, Terry Nichols and Michael Fortier. There's a little-known channel out there. It's called Truth Is Not a Hoax, that I was part of for a little while. Oh, yes, Raven, I did forget about that. Before I get into that, Randy Weaver's wife was killed while she was holding their baby or a young toddler while she was just out walking.
That is not okay.
$5 from Digital Demonic Davros. Idea for a show for you and me, Jay. Terrible things in history on your birthday would be fun stuff. We could talk for hours. It's true. There's typing a date. Yeah. So that's what happened with Weaver's wife. Anyways, there's a channel out there, Truth Is Not a Hoax, that I was involved in for a while. I do have a video on the Oklahoma City bombing. If you haven't checked that out, well worth the watch. I got a lot of good feedback. I thought I did an excellent job. And what I did what I did there that I didn't do here was actually at the end of the video, I went through and listed all the victims from Oklahoma City, and with their ages and stuff. So, if you get a chance to find that, take a look at that. Somebody in the chat probably knows where it's at and seen it, and probably drop a link for us. So that's how we can link Ruby Ridge, Waco, and Oklahoma City, is because Timothy McVeigh felt Waco and Ruby Ridge were anti, Second Amendment stuff and didn't like the way the government was going. So, yeah. So that's how you can link the three of those. And to mind you, that happened between August. Davros, Jay, you was a brother to me. Love you, brother. A native atheist said he heard the OKC bombing. It was like 15 to 20 miles away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the explosion was huge.
I don't remember that either. I was pretty young.
You was still a little one.
Yeah, I was.
All right, go ahead.
I understand the government's coming to take your guns, because that's what my family always thought too. But it's such a self-fulfilling prophecy if you go about obtaining illegally or illegal guns and have stockpiles of illegal weapons, like, of course, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, of course, they're going to come for you if you're going to choose to do that. And my family, luckily, got theirs legally, but still, this whole idea that the government's coming to take your guns, it's an old.
Yeah.
It's just getting old.
Yeah.
And it causes so much of this type of thing, I think.
Yeah, it does. It's a lot of fear mongering with the militias and stuff. Just be thankful that the younger generations is one thing. I'm glad that they don't remember. They don't remember things like OKC, Ruby Ridge, Waco, the first World Trade Center bombings. I remember those.
I do remember that.
The bombings in Beirut. There are a lot of stuff that happened in the 80s and 90s. Horrible things.
Yeah.
A lot of this generation will only read about, but some of us in the older generation remember happening firsthand. So, yeah, this is a lot of stuff. But that's yeah. Anyway, so going into the conspiracy theories. So, ever since the events of April 19th, 1993, there have been wild conspiracy theories accusing the federal government, under the control of then Attorney General Janet Reno and President Bill Clinton, of everything from reckless disregard for the people inside to outright murder. Rush Limbaugh has long called it the Waco invasion, and Alex Jones, as Davros had pointed out earlier, and this is basically where Alex Jones got his big start, had called Reno the butcher of Waco and claimed that the Davidians were murdered by the government. Alex Jones was so anti everything about this that he actually went to Waco, Texas, to the Mount Carmel compound and had a new church built for them, which is good on his part. More power to you. Congratulations. You helped these people out. But yeah, the reasons why it was kind of. Let's see. What's it? Trudy Hall says. Trudy Hell. What is the name? Trudy Hell.
Trude Hell.
Trude Hell. Anyways, this makes me think of another cult you could probably cover one day if you please. The Nutby Pentecostal Church. Search for Nutby murders. It's from Sweden. I've never heard of that. The government doesn't. Scapegoat says the government doesn't want our guns. They have aircraft, anti-aircraft missiles, tanks, tens of thousands of their own. The pea shooters. It's ridiculous. Yet they can't be convinced against it. Yeah. I said, everybody, I can take my guns. Yeah, if the government wants your guns, they're going to take your fucking guns.
Well, that's the other one that's so funny. Like, my family always used to say, come take it from my cold, dead hands. Okay. They will. They will. Like, they can do that.
Yeah. All right, so let's start getting into some of these conspiracy theories. Starting off, I had to put this one first just because it was the Donald Trump buddy and unofficial advisor Roger Stone has accused Hillary Clinton, not Bill, of being the one behind the deaths at Waco. But goes into no detail on why or how.
Of course.
You said Hillary did it, but you don't say how or why she did it. You kind of need to follow up there, buddy.
Oh no, his followers will believe him just with that.
Yeah. The FBI set the fire that killed the Davidians. 3 tear gas canisters were found away from the compound. We already covered that one earlier. This one makes no sense to me. David Koresh was running a CIA safe house.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. The government attacked their own.
Hot skull. I blame Chelsea Clinton. She's the true evil in that family. Yeah. How does Crash that one? That one makes absolutely no sense. That
Yeah, no,
Koresh
that
was running a if they said KGB safe house, it'd have been more but a CIA safe house. That's why they raided the compound.
yeah, that
No
makes no
sense.
sense.
No sense whatsoever. I told this one to Raven. She's like, the government wanted the property for a high-speed railway line. It's still there. The compound is still there.
Yeah, they went through a lot of work to not follow through with that.
That's what she said. An awful lot of shit happened for nothing to happen. President Clinton used the raid to eliminate ATF agents who knew too much about his personal life.
Oh, of course. That has to be it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they could have found a much easier way to handle that one than full on siege and
kill 72 people to kill these 3 agents.
Yeah. Trude says it must be a subway. Okay. Now, the caveat to that last statement about because they knew too much, it says, never mind that the Branch Davidian investigation began long before Clinton was ever elected president, and the raid was planned before he took office.
That doesn't matter.
There's another one with absolutely no backing behind it, no explanation whatsoever. Hillary Clinton gave the order to murder Waco babies.
Oh, well, of course.
There was nothing there. It was just a headline. You're not giving us any information.
Oh, that one's funny.
This one I thought was funny. I kept bringing this one up. But the Army had nothing to do with the siege. Official Pentagon spokesman from the Pentagon says we had no operational involvement in this activity or planning. That's the official statement from the Pentagon. Even so, the military did provide a variety of support services, loaning radios and other communication equipment, tanks, tents, helicopters, and providing, at least in the early stages, some anti-terrorism advice. Now, there is one of the conspiracy theories that leads with this Waco thing is, when the government says we didn't have anything to do with it, the Army. There was a group of, I think, 6 special force members on site through this whole thing. And at one point they had disappeared and then reappeared back later. So, but mind you, the Army had nothing to do with it.
Nothing.
And as of 2015, the New York Times story looking into Waco's influence on today's far right put it, for right-wing militias and so-called patriot groups, Waco amounts to the evidence of a tyrannical, illegitimate government unblinkingly prepared to kill its own people. The specter of Waco has not faded. Right-wing extremists regularly invoke it as a defining moment, proof of Washington's perfidy. Waco can happen at any given time. Mike Vanderbilt, a prominent figure in the Patriot movement, told Retro Report, he added ominously, but the outcome will be different this time. Of that, I can assure you.
Oh, of course. I'm curious, though, if right-wing people support this, or think that this was a travesty on Waco. Didn't you say that this all started with investigations into child marriage? Yep.
That's
So
where it
how do
started.
they justify that?
Oh, they don't talk about that. Oh, no. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fact that they tried to come and take our guns.
Okay. They just leave that part out. That makes
Oh yeah,
sense.
it's always conveniently left out.
Just goes to the guns, the illegal guns.
Yeah,
But
the
that
illegal
doesn't
guns that
matter
they're not
either.
supposed to have. The hand grenades that live hand grenades that they're not supposed to have.
So we're gonna ignore everything illegal that happened and just blame the government.
And if I
Sounds
remember right, Ruby Ridge had anti-aircraft rocket launchers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, RPGs, things like that. So yeah. Now this is my absolute favorite conspiracy theory. That David Koresh isn't dead. He's in WITSEC, or he's locked up in a secret location because he knows the real truth.
Ooh, the real truth about what?
Doesn't say.
Okay.
Just the real truth.
That's a common conspiracy, that the person who's claimed to be dead didn't die.
Yeah. Oh yeah, people don't die. Like the Men in Black said, they just went home.
Yeah.
When you get things like Waco, Ruby Ridge, OKC, things like that, and you start looking, and you start deep diving into the like the cults, like with the Branch Davidians. A lot of it, and this is one of the things I say quite often is you've got to watch the religious indoctrination, because a lot of this stuff boils down to their religious beliefs. A lot of these far right people and these militia people are extremists when it comes to their Bibles. It is extremist when it comes to their Constitution, and they link them together like they're part of the same book. Their Second Amendment and their First Amendment right are just to them is just as important as the Ten Commandments out of their Bible, and it's that kind of fundamentalism that leads to these things like Waco. And that's the biggest. A lot of this stuff. I'm saying this with hindsight because, and I know this isn't something that will happen, but we get to a point where we can look past the extreme dogma and the extreme fundamentalism of these type situations. I 100% believe the world itself is going to be a better place. I don't have an issue with religion. I don't have an issue with a lot of cults because a lot of cults are harmless. But it's the ones that take it to the extremes. We're seeing it now in Islam. We've seen it in Christianity early on. We've seen it. Like I said, we've seen it here with Waco. We've seen the destruction that it can cause in Heaven's Gate when you get with the doomsday cults. I don't have an issue with religion. It's the fundamentalism. It's the extreme dogmatic issues that I have issues with. I'm a Buddhist. I'm a religious person. But I'm not. Well, unless you talk to Chris, and Chris says that I'm an angry Buddhist. I can see him giggling in the background. I'm not dogmatic about it.
Right.
And I know quite a few Christians, and we've talked to quite a few Christians that aren't dogmatic about their religion. So yeah, you can be a religious person and not be like this, or like Jade, what you grew up in,
right?
Where it can be very it can be harmful on the psyche. It can be harmful on growing up. There's so many things that you miss out or can't do or things like that. So you end up getting these people like Ruby Ridge in Waco, 9/11. That's the extreme belief, Islamic belief there. The issues with happening between Israel and Palestine. There's religion there. Um, if we could be a religious world, but not a dogmatic religious world, I think we would be a better place.
I agree. If it was less dogmatic, it would be better. I go as far to say if you took religion out, we'd be a better world. But I understand that some people just really enjoy that tradition and what's the routine of it. Community. Yeah. Yep. Because routine, that's one of the, or not routine, community, that's one of the things that I missed the most when I first came out of religion. And then luckily I found this community online. But that's probably the biggest thing that I missed was the community of religion.
I was just looking at the background and I don't remember, did I mention this, that David Koresh believed that he was Jesus Christ? Not the second coming, that he was actually Jesus Christ.
I don't remember
if I
that.
did or not. It just because I was reading the sign, it says they'll never find any bones. He is alive. Well, he's Jesus.
Oh my, that takes quite the.
They didn't find Jesus's bones either.
Oh man.
So yeah,
that's quite the claim.
Yeah.
To get people to believe you on that too, that's impressive.
Which gets me because and we keep going back. Jesus wasn't a white dude.
Yeah. You can't say that.
Jesus wasn't a white dude.
No, he was not.
So what is your now that you've sat through both these episodes on the Branch Davidians, what is your takeaway from all this? And kind of a two-part question for you. What is your takeaway? And how does this kind of situation compare to how you grew up?
Yeah. So my takeaway is it can be extremely dangerous to have such fundamental beliefs. And it's really sad to me that someone with these outrageous ideas and this charming personality can deceive so many people ultimately to their death. That just is a tragic thing when you give someone that much control over your life. I don't know how we fix that besides better education and stuff like that. But yeah, that it just makes me extremely sad that this happens to so many people. And it is extremely kind of scarily similar to how I grew up. We kind of lived in that same mentality, just without living in a bunker, although we did have someone in our family working on building a bunker to prepare for the end of the world. We were constantly stocking up food, keeping rainwater, basically always preparing for either a government takeover, because the government was going to come take our guns and take away our freedom of religion, or preparing for the tribulation, because we weren't sure if it was going to be a pre-rapture or post-rapture thing.
I was just going to ask you, were you pre-rapture or post-rapture?
Yeah, we weren't sure.
It depends on which religion you talk to. Depends on what happens before or after.
Yep. My church heavily believed pre-tribulation, but my uncle was reading into the Bible and other religions and stuff, and he had found some secret meaning in the Bible with dates and stuff like that. So he had kind of thought he pinned down exactly when Jesus was going to come back. He was wrong all times. I think there were 3 different dates that he chose that he was wrong, but it was just always this fear of something was going to happen. And so we didn't participate in regular day-to-day lives. We didn't watch the news. We didn't go out and about, really. It was just, we're prepping for the end of the world. We're studying our Bible. We're in church. It was complete. Every aspect of my life had to do with that. And it was so much more than just religion. It was so much anti-government. And yes, Left Behind was a huge series in our house. Even though we weren't sure if it was going to be pre or post, we loved those books.
Now, I watched the first movie. I didn't think the first movie was that bad. I heard they got really bad after the first one, but the first one, I watched it. I'm like, it wasn't a horrible movie, but I didn't read any of the books.
I enjoyed it when it came out, but I loved the books. I read all of the books, and Kirk Cameron was in it, and he was like my crush at the time because I had done the Way of the Master series or whatever with Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron.
Yeah. Now, see, when I watched it, I didn't know Kirk was that batshit nuts.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't know that till recently, actually. He was so dreamy. Oh my gosh, I was such a naughty girl in Sunday school because I thought he was so cute. I was not supposed to think that way.
No. It all, I say a lot of times there are 2 things that cause a lot of problems we have in this world. 1 is money, 2 is religion. And I firmly believe you get rid of religion, you get rid of money, a lot of our problems will go away. They'll just disappear. Now, I'm not talking a Star Trek type. I need to put that up there.
Yes, that's what did it.
If you watch Star Trek, that's basically what they did. They got rid of religion and they got rid of money, and they came together. So yes, true says some also use religion as an excuse to do some shitty things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's where I go back and forth. Like, you can be good without it, so why do you need it? But some people need that routine and community, and I understand that. I don't know how you take that away from somebody. And like, if someone does rely on that or enjoy that and you take that away, it's a very hard thing. So it wouldn't necessarily be better for everyone to take away religion, and I try to remind myself of that. But overall, I think you can be good without it.
Yeah. Boy, Chris, you spelled Nexium all kinds of wrong running that on the ticker. That is not how it's spelled. But it makes sense because the way it's spelled makes no sense. It's like NXYUM or something like that. IUM. Yeah.
Oh.
But you read it that way, it makes sense because it says Nexium, and we'll go with that. But it's not next week. It's the following week. Angry Buddhist. Next week is a conspiracy theory. Nexium will be after the conspiracy theory. There you go. NXIVM.
Yeah, that doesn't look like next.
Yeah.
Year.
No. Yeah. So six pack. Grumpy will be watching clouds disappear. That ought to be hilarious. Uh, is the time right there, Chris? 7:00. I thought it was 6:30.
5:30 my time. Yeah.
Yeah.
The time is correct.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Yeah, because what we're going to do is the following week we'll move the time again, just because we're in that funny sort of period at the moment where daylight savings has happened for me but hasn't ended for you. And then
Yep.
daylight savings will end for, I think it ends for you guys this weekend.
Yes.
Yep, on Sunday.
Which gives us another hour difference. So then the week after, it will still be 7 a.m. Eastern time, but it'll just get like really late for me. So, but you know, I love you all, and that's the sacrifice I'm prepared to make.
Well, you know, Chris, you could do a pre-show.
Well, that's what I'm probably going to do. So I'll probably do a pre-show at 9:30 my time that'll go for an hour. And then, yeah, see what happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
What time would that be my time?
The pre-show or the regular?
The pre-show.
oh, we're talking like 4:30 in the morning for you, Jade.
No.
I was gonna say I don't think I'll make it for that.
No, it'd be 5:30. 5:30 in the. Oh, hang on,
No, 5:30
you're
for
the extra
me.
hour. No, 4:30.
Yeah, it's 5:30 for me.
4:30 for you, Jade, for the pre-show. But then the regular show will start at 6.
So,
Okay.
Sandy, it'll still be 7:00 our time. Will be the actual show. The pre-show is just going to start really butt cracker early.
Because us Australians, we love you Americans. We're the closest of friends, as our leaders keep saying. So I'm encouraged to be nice to you all and start at a reasonable time.
So,
Well, we appreciate that.
Well,
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if you're not on the show, the whole thing falls apart because, I mean, Jay's pretty boring.
I got lots of
I learned a lot from him today.
About how to be an angry Buddhist, or?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Since we got you here real quick, Chris, what was your thoughts on Waco? Do you remember, or are you still too young for that?
I do remember when it happened. I would have been 12 at the time, 11 or 12. So it was the first year of high school for me. So it was something I was aware of. But basically the way it was portrayed to us was crazy cult leader and all these guns, and because our gun laws are very different here. So I think we just had a different understanding at the time. But I guess I've learned a lot from listening in, and I guess I've got probably a different understanding and appreciation for what did happen. I think some of the conspiracy theories are just not surprising, but batshit crazy.
Yeah.
That being said, I wouldn't put anything past the Clintons, but even I don't think that they would have been responsible for that. That being said, maybe Hillary was secretly David Koresh in a mask.
There you go.
See, it could be anything, but look, it's a reinforcement of how people can just fall into these traps. I mean, the stuff that you were talking about last week with, it's basically, how people were just basically happily letting their wives become his wives, or leaving their husbands to become his wife. I mean, an extra wife. It's so cult-like. And you look at that, you look at, similar things happened with the Church of Mormon founding with Joseph Smith. It's Jesus convinced a bunch of guys to leave their wives so he could marry them. All those apostles walking around together in ancient Judea, who knows what happened. But the scary thing is, when you look at the methods and what people, or the lengths that people will go to, it isn't that different from what you see in a lot of mainstream religion. People do have, I guess, cult of personality worship for their pastors in a way, or their imams, or whatever. And even like you were saying, Jade, you were drawing a lot of comparisons to what you went through and how. I mean, you are someone who I consider to be intelligent, and well adjusted. Yeah, but you were trapped in this world where you had family members building bunkers. Where
Mhm.
you're all convinced the governments were going to come and take your guns, and you had to be prepared, and things like that. I have some sympathy for the people who fell into that, because I don't think anyone falls into that wanting to do wrong. I think there's certainly evil in people like David Koresh, um, but the other people there, they had a belief, and they were manipulated. And I have a lot of sympathy for that.
I do too. Good people fall into things very easily. And, my family didn't do it to harm me. I know that. I know they didn't have bad intentions. They were just scared.
Yeah, and that's the bad thing about religion. It can make good people do bad things.
Yep.
It's. I even look at some of the things that happen in the Middle East, and as horrific as some of it is, the people aren't doing it with bad intentions. And I hate saying that, because it can be horrible things. But then you even, like, I've always been nice to the Mormons or the Jehovah's Witnesses who knock on the door, because as annoying as they are, they're doing that because they are genuinely of a belief that by doing that they are going to save souls. They're going to,
Yep.
they're doing something wonderful and good. Yeah, but it really does just sort of, I guess, to get back to it, it really does reinforce how easy it is for people to fall into traps like Buddhism.
Awkward silence. I
Like,
expected Jade to follow up with a response.
Oh, it is very easy for people to fall into those traps, and especially, and we've talked about this before, when you're using people's weaknesses as that way in to get them to believe these things. It becomes even harder for that person to get out. And so, though I have a lot of anger, I also have, like you said, a lot of sympathy, because a lot of people don't realize the harm that they're doing. I didn't realize the harm that I was doing to the people around me. My parent or my mom still doesn't accept the harm that she has done to me. She didn't do it with those intentions. She did it thinking that it was the best for me.
Well, not defending your mom, but people in that situation, they don't see it as harm.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't see that you know that they like you said, that they're harming you in what they're doing, because they don't see it that way. They see it as a part of life. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how things are done. Um, in your case, this is God's will, because that's the way it was taught to them, or that is the way they interpreted it. So they're not seeing the effects that it has. Like, I can't say for sure, but I can say with the studies I've done, and the readings that I've done on cults, that if you just stayed where you're at and stayed believing, you would still be. You wouldn't think anything was wrong. You would still be naive to the fact that what they're doing is actually harmful in the long run to some people. Um, but you wouldn't see that. You wouldn't acknowledge that. It wouldn't be something you would know, so you wouldn't see it as wrong. You would just see it as normal.
Yep.
Um, so then that's how these type of people work, and how they think is they don't see what they're doing as harmful. They see it as a normal um extension of what they believe. So, um, it is for them. It is 100% normal for the leader, the pastor, to have 15 wives, because the Bible says somewhere in there, somewhere that you're supposed to have. I'm, but that's their interpretations
People
of it.
people people can justify just about anything
Hmm.
and find some interpretation. I mean, the thing about the Bible is it's such a there's so many contradictions. There's so many stories. There's so many different ways you can interpret things. You can justify just about anything using the Bible. You could probably justify why the
Hmm.
Clintons were behind Waco if you look hard enough. But actually, that's probably given some people ideas.
I was gonna say you're starting a new conspiracy here.
Well, I've always thought it would be fun to, and I've said this to Jay before. It would be fun to sit down and just create a batshit crazy
Yep.
conspiracy, start a channel, try and push it out there, and just see what happens, see how much traction it can get. But then the thing is, what if it does get traction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, you're the next, Q or something.
My newest family conspiracy is that the United States is going to destroy itself because we're not mentioned in the Bible at all. So they're thinking we're going to destroy ourselves sometime here very, very soon.
There's a lot of places that aren't mentioned in the Bible.
Yeah.
If we're going by places mentioned in the Bible in modern times, I think basically it'll be Israel, Egypt, and Ethiopia.
Well, in Greece.
Yeah,
Is it-
Greece. Yeah. Oh well, I guess if you count the New Testament,
yeah.
I guess Greece.
Romans.
Well, yeah, which Roman Empire? That's what I was
Yeah.
going to debate. What is the Roman Empire? But that's going to be a pretty small, centralized little world.
Very small, yes.
See, I like the interpretation of Russia in Daniel being the bear and coming down, and America being the king of the South that will bravely fight off the king of the North. It's just there's
That sounds like an episode of Game of Thrones.
if you ever want some, you know what, we could probably do an entire series on what John Hagee says. He's a pastor out of Texas, I think. I think he's out of San Antonio. I could be wrong, but I think he's predicted the end of the world. Probably about 10 times now, the apocalypse coming, and it's always to do with whatever current affair or current event is going on, and whatever he can sell a book on. So, but he's got some interesting interpretations that link back
That
to.
name sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
I can guarantee.
I think we've talked about him before.
Yeah,
a couple
I can
times.
guarantee, Jade, you would have come across him back in your religious days. He's got his own channel, and I think it's Cornerstone Church. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And speaking, like we were speaking earlier of doomsday cults, we really
What
at
is
some point should dive into the Book of Revelations, because that's where a lot of these get their
that
doomsday.
we could really spend. Oh, yeah, we could do a 10-parter on that. We really could, if the different interpretations for things, and
I mean, you think about it, because the whole with Waco here, there's talk about the 7 seals of the Book of Revelations. How many of them are we? What was it? God, what was I doing? I think it was last. I don't remember right offhand, but COVID is the what the hell was? The coronavirus is the coming of the horseman death. There's that one.
Well, I guess it is the first ever virus that's ever existed, because no virus has ever existed before.
Oh,
There's never been a plague in history at all.
No.
no.
Yeah, this is it because America.
Oh, I seen something. It was on TikTok. It's lady said, "White people did not exist before 1681."
What?
Yeah,
What?
she it was some professor somewhere said white people did not exist before 1681, and the guy come back. Well, I'd be a little pissed at all the white people what had at
Oh,
1680.
no, hang on, hang on. No, basically, okay. So that's yeah, no, I have seen that argument. I do understand that argument. What that argument comes from is basically color or skin color wasn't a thing prior to sort of around that period. It's just people didn't look at Africans as being black people; they were just like people from Africa. That's what that comes from.
Okay.
This idea of differences in races is a reasonably new concept. It's all part of, I guess, Eurocentricity. And I only know that because I'm reading a book on Eurocentricity at the moment, and it is hurting my head.
I said the comment that came back with it was like, well, what about all the white people that were around in 1680? Just all of a sudden 1681, here's all white people.
That's it. That's when they dropped them off.
Yeah.
That's when the spaceship landed, and the lizard people let us out.
So,
yeah, fun.
Hawkskull says, I work with a conspiracy nut job. He claims that all viruses have existed since the beginning of time, and this is just a harsh influenza.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Too many.
Unfortunately.
And I don't think we're going to hear the end of it anytime soon.
Viruses don't exist.
I've also heard that one.
You cannot contract a virus.
Yeah, okay, sure. Whoever said that must have, just the best health.
Oh, wait a minute. Hang on a second. I did see something that popped up here.
Yeah. Look, Hereticals is a cult. I'm slowly just sort of dragging everyone into my web. In fact, they did talk about Hereticals in the Bible. It's I'm the Antichrist. I've got Jay as the false prophet because he's got the beard and stuff. I think we just need to find the devil.
Well, we got Jezebel.
Oh yeah, well definitely that's Jen, without a shadow of a doubt.
We got the devil. That's Ed.
Yeah,
I was going to say Ed could be the devil.
Actually, no, I think Ed's the whore of Babylon.
Oh,
yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah,
but it's maybe Jade's the devil. I'm thinking it's always the nice, quiet ones.
It is the quiet ones.
It's
little do you know.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably the case. In which case, I guess it's good to get on Jade's good side.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case.
Sandy says she doesn't mind the witch label. Plenty of people use it. So
yeah.
Sandy's our resident witch.
Nothing wrong with that?
Nope.
So long as you don't put a spell on me. No turning. Actually, maybe we could get a spell on Jay.
Yeah, good luck.
Yes. Actually, I did see a really good spell the other day to do with clouds that Grumpy's going to Please go away.
Oh, that's going to be so fun.
I was chatting to Ed last night, and he's worried, and I just said, no, you are just going to love this. This is just going to be the greatest time to zoom in and just get that reaction. It is so special. It is so very special. But hey, a big shout out to Ed as well. Because awesome with his tattoo cover up. That is just
Yes, it looks so good.
so I saw that, and while I'm on the stream with him, I'm thinking, it's time for me to get my next tattoo. It's time.
Man, that made me so mad that I missed that.
Were you angry?
No, I wasn't angry, but I was a little upset. No, my kids came up that night, the night before, and I stayed up waiting for them because they left. It takes 3.5 hours for them to drive up. So I'm like, all right, I'll just wait and then I'll get up. And then, well, they hit a deer on their way up.
Oh, damn!
So
All right.
it ended up being later and later and later, and then it was like 20 minutes to 3. I'm like, fuck, I gotta go to bed. And I forgot to set my alarm to get up so I could join Ed. And so when I woke up, and I didn't get up till 9:30, I'm like, shit, I got so much stuff I gotta do. Fuck, I missed Ed's thing. Oh yeah, it was not a good morning.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I did say that slacker Jay's not here.
Yeah, I wouldn't surprise
Ed jumped straight to your defense. Don't worry. No one says nasty things about his Jay.
No. Yeah, the car, the kids were okay. The car busted a headlight, and they had to bungee part of the bumper back together, but they were okay.
All right. That's the main thing.
And they said it was one of those, because it's dark and they're coming like this. There's another car coming at them, and as soon as the car passed them, there was the deer.
Jay, I was going to say, Jay, I've got to run.
Yeah.
You right to end the stream?
Yeah, bro. I'm just going to wrap this up here. So
too easy. I will see everyone on
Friday.
On Six Pack. Yeah, I'll have a chat if to you, Jade, as well. But if yourself and Jen aren't right, or you've got things on the couch, we'll just put it back a week. That's cool. That's easy.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I forgot to tell you that my daughter has a play tomorrow. So unless we can do it later in the day.
Family comes first. It's work it out between yourself and Jen, and if that's what you want to do, I am happy to kind of work around everyone. So whatever works. Awesome. But anyway, I do have to run. Everyone have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever it is, and be water Jay's friends.
Yes.
Bye, Chris.
Bye. So, now that we're almost 2 hours, does anybody remember the conspiracy theory I was going to cover? Because I am completely lost. I've been racking my brain trying to figure it out, but I can't. So, I'm going to have to dig deep and figure out what the hell we're going to do. So,
yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Sandy, the rule about if you missed the first deer, watch out. There's usually another one that follow it. That's often very true.
Yes, it is.
But yeah,
I have unfortunately hit my fair share of deers. Yeah,
they said there was no. It was as soon as that car passed them and the headlights broke, there was the deer. So it was like, so yeah, it was one of those like, well, fuck.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so that was that. So. I will at some point figure out what conspiracy theory we're doing next week. So, and then I got to get with Claire to and we'll get Nexium. So,
yeah.
That is, if you don't know Nexium, just go watch a documentary.
Yep.
Because it is fucking vile. But that will I will put a disclaimer up. This one is not for the faint of heart. If you are not into sex cults, it is not going to be one that people are want to be involved in. So
yeah. I do sometimes have a hard time talking about things like that, but I'm interested to learn about it.
Yeah. Richard, no, because I'd have thought that would have rang a bell. It's like, okay, part 2's this week. This is next week. No, it didn't help. So I'll figure out something. So, yeah, NXIVM. Sandy, unfortunately, like I said, that's why I'm warning you ahead of time, because I do know some people are not going to want to tune in. And much love for you, Sandy, and everybody else. But I do think since it is relevant for this time that we're in right now, it is extremely relevant. That I think it should be covered. I know myself, and probably I can probably speak for Claire on this time. We will not get into graphic details, because I don't think that's. Yeah, you always think you're into a sex cult until you actually find out when one is actually like that. Is absolutely true. No, Sandy, I know I can't make it. But yeah, I am not going to go into graphic details about what actually happened. I mean, obviously we're going to have to talk about some things, but we won't go into just because. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you all for joining us. Jade, you got anything to close out the show with before I shut us down?
I recently did a interview with the Harmonic Atheist. So I put a link to that in my Twitter. I had a lot of fun talking with him, and we talked a lot about my experiences that are similar to this. So if anyone wants to go check that out, it's on his page, the Harmonic Atheist. Otherwise, no, I don't have anything else.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. This has been part 2 of the Branch Davidians. Hope you learned something. Hope you remember things. Twist your brain and make you go, I don't remember that quite that way, but it's one of those things that people would say, it's the Mandela effect. It's not a Mandela effect. That maybe I should do that one next week. Talk about the Mandela effect. That's a good idea.
That is.
Yeah. So for all of us here at Hereticals, I've been Jay. That's been Jade. That was Chris. Thank you guys for sticking around for these last 2 weeks. I know it is a touchy subject for a lot of people. Brings back some horrible memories. But thank you for sticking around with us. Hope you learned something. Hope you take away some stuff. And as always, be water, my friends.
Bye.